the audio is okay as usual. If you're watching this past week, Joe personally apologizes for the audio on the video portion of that last stream. It's all right though. He's getting it. If you are ready to get into this, I need you to type ready in that chat, where you're from, what you shoot, and what you shoot with. I know some of you OGs like Robin in the chat's already doing this. But let me know where you're from. Let me know what you shoot. Let me know what you shoot with. And I want to see a lot of ready typed out in that chat. We're doing this like the old school Twitch days. No excuses, guys. If I got to have energy, you guys have to have energy. I know it's Monday, but we're going to have a good week. Why? Because we have to. Otherwise, the sanity breaks and we all break down. All right. All right, I see Tony, I see Chromatic, I see Robin. I got one ready. I got two readies. All right. How about I do this? We take this off of here and we do a bada bang like that. How we doing, guys? Welcome to the Adorama event space. I'm Seth Miranda. I feel like I should get more formal with the introductions if you're new to this channel. We do this every Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern. When I'm available, I come in here, whatever you ask, I do the answer as a demo with my girl Quinn over here. Usually I put a question sticker out right here on my Instagram the day before. That way you guys can kind of preemptively throw some questions in there. I don't look at them until we're live, which is a detriment to myself. Because if it's something I got to figure out, you're going to watch it live. All right, what's going on, Joel? Edgar, welcome. Sean, it is a rainy day. No, this Sean, not that Sean. If you guys come to the city store, you can come see 17-foot tall Sean in the computer department. He'll happily think he's the only Sean in the world. The ego is massive. The guy's flexing right now. I don't need to see your abs. Put the shirt down. Here we go. All right. No, we actually have some of the best computer division guys, audio guys over there. They're real nerds. Real nerds. That's what you want. Real nerds. Okay. So a lot's been going on here at the event space. The channel has been pumping. I hope you guys are going back and watching some of those streams we put out, including my own, which I did last week, which is why I wasn't live on the Monday stream, because I did the Wednesday afternoon. Because what you guys don't know is when there's somebody in town, I try to grab them for the morning for the podcast, which is Coffee with Creators. And then I ask them to stick around and do a demo for you guys in the afternoon. And so we call that a double header. And so if I was going to be a guest on that show one time, I was going to do the double header because I'm a big believer and I don't want to ask people to do things that are I consider peers that I wouldn't do myself. And it's an exhausting day, but we did it. We totally did it. If you did miss the 100th episode, boy, oh boy, did you guys missed out. Let me see if I can pull up the things I've been trying to pull up all morning. Hang on, guys. Sorry about that. This is going away. This is going away. This is going away. Okay. So when me and Daniel Norton were live on Wednesday at 11 a.m., we did the 100th episode and I was the guest, which is a total change of pace. I guarantee you there was so much stuff I wish I brought up. What is going on here? Why am I missing the camera? What happened here? Oh, Joe moved me into the wrong corner, so I didn't know where I was. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Oh, no, and there we go. Boom, boom. Great. Okay, so Dan took over, the OG, and we talked about some stuff my career went through and things like that. So if you missed out on that, which I think some of you did because the view count's a little low, I will put that in the chat and you guys can check that out. So yeah, there's 100 episodes of the podcast, which is nuts to think, but that also means we have about 95 guests, different guests that you guys should know about. Art directors, special effects artists, photographers, cinematographers, camera operators, digital illustrators. I mean, the list was nuts, and I try to get you guys resources, right? Like people that hire you or what they're looking for, or just some creative professional to let you know what the headspace is like, stuff like that. All right. You can listen to me and Dan all day. I don't know, man. There's people that are here that have to listen to us all day, and I don't think they're too into it. I don't know, maybe I can talk Dan into doing a once in a while catch-up stream. You know, we just kind of hang out and it's not about a guest, but maybe a state of the industry or something like that. Why do I feel a little hot here? A little better. Got to watch the episode while sitting in the jury pool. So that, hey, at least they're in contrast, it's better there, right? And I also was live on the Events channel, which is this channel. I don't know why I said that, where I did a quick, like, I guess, cinematic character lighting kind of a thing. I had to rush through it because Brent, my model, had to get out of here. So let me put. I thought it was a pretty cool demo. We kind of, used the space a little bit more. It was very like, let's go, just trying to make some things happen, but just showing you like the thought process it takes to build something out with light as your environment and atmosphere, but also just things to consider, period, right? It wasn't about the shot we were making there, because I don't think the shot was too great, but yeah, things like that. I'll put this in the chat. If you guys can give that a watch, I'd appreciate it. And as always, guys, the biggest thing you can do to help the channel or the presenter or whoever it is, one, like, of course, is very easy, but dropping a comment, just saying anything in those comments to give feedback is a massive thanks to whoever's doing those demos. And also sharing it with a buddy, just hitting share and you're good. Yeah, Brent's social links. Let me see if I can get that going here. Hang on, Brent. This is Brent. Sorry about that. I'll throw him in the description. He's been pretty busy. I'll throw him in the description, but I'll also put him in the chat right now. Why is this doing this to me? So it's so rainy and gross out. I just finally started drying off right now, but this is what's happening right here. Brent's awesome. Really talented actor, really works on himself to keep on acquiring skills to bring to acting, which all professional actors tend doing. Like they learn martial arts or they learn like gun safety or something like that, Other than that, let me see. I'll pin my demo to the chat. So if you guys missed it, maybe you can save it for later. I'd appreciate it. This channel is hitting 158,000 right now, which is just wild to even say that. Do you remember we were struggling to hit 10,000 subscribers? And now we're on track to get to hopefully 200K by the end of the year. Would be amazing. I know that's shooting for the stars a little bit, but I think we can do it. Thanks. Yeah, this is a bootleg. I mean, this is somebody's basement printed this. I found it at Union Square. If you don't know this movie, shame on you. How can you go on with your life if you don't know The Professional or the director's cut Leon? Natalie Portman was incredible as a child actor in it. I'll call her a child actor. I think that's fair to say. Okay, so really quick, let me go over the stuff that's going on here so you guys can stay in the know. Let me see. August, let me refresh this. Okay, so tomorrow, if you are in New York, you're going to want to stop by because Glyph is going to be here. They're going to have a table and they'll walk you through your options for memory, including their new CV Express Type B cards, which I'm currently testing out. More on that later when I get a little deeper into them. But Glyph has been a name in this industry for a long time, and they're famous for their durability and warranty, basically, okay? So if you're in New York, 42 West 18th Street, come hang out. Glyph will be here. Also, tomorrow is a photo walk with Sony. So if you need to, actually not if you need to, but if you want to go walk the streets, try out some Sony gear with Sony reps with you to help you walk you through the features and capabilities, menus and settings and all that kind of stuff. Plus just get creative for a little bit here in New York. Come hang out. But please do RSVP for the walks. They don't want to be surprised with a mob showing up. They need to know how many people are showing up. They need to know how many cameras to keep around. They need to know how many people they're responsible for. So make sure you are checking out the Adorama.com/events page. Small rig will be here on Wednesday. So Wednesday, the 19th, is actually World Photography Day, I think is what they're calling it. In the morning, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., Adorama is partnering with Nikon at the summit here in New York, which is a really tall building that has like all glass and the floor is glass. 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., you guys can come hang out and shoot and try out a bunch of Nikon gear. This is a paid event. It is more of a Nikon event that Adorama is piggybacking on, but you guys can come hang out for that. Go check out Nikon's social for information on that. But later in the day, not only am I going to be live with Corporate Creators with Andrew Hancock, one of the best sports photographers, period, who just shot the World Cup, but also Small Rig will be here with a table. So if you guys want to see what options you have to build out your cameras, as far as maybe throwing a monitor on them or audio solutions, a cage, rails, just seeing all the little micro arms that they have available and all their other cool little stuff like the flashlight. Oh, I forgot to bring that. I was going to bring the Small Rig flashlight to mess with today. Sorry about that. Maybe next week, but they'll be here. Small Rig will be here. And then Wednesday in the evening, off campus at SVA, the School of Visual Arts Theater, Sony is partnering with us to do the event for Drifter. So Drifter is a film that was being directed and starred by Sung Kang, who is known for starring in the Fast and Furious movies. Well, he's going to launch the trailer here at this event, and it'll be a tech demo for all of the Sony cinema line. So you can come hang out, check out all this FX6, FX5, FX3, FX3A, and have Sony reps there to walk you through all the options and build outs and stuff like that. Plus a panel with the film crew. I don't know exactly which roles, but there will be people that you can talk to that are actively working in this industry, that have made a film, that are working with Sony. So come hang out at School of Visual Arts if you're here in New York. Wednesday, I think it's at 4 p.m., 4 to 9 p.m. So coming up for that. Thursday is a cool day. So during the day, Fujifilm is going to be here with Jared Esau, and they're going to go do a photo walk. So you can try out Fujifilm cameras and lenses and hang out with a guy that's really talented, walking you through what to look for when doing street photography, shoot with him, all that kind of stuff. And you get to basically ask Fujifilm reps what you need help with their cameras, what settings are, what features are, what these words inside the cameras mean, all sorts of things, maybe things you didn't know the cameras can do. Also, if you are shooting a different system, want to figure out, is Fujifilm something you are more intuitive with, or maybe the color science is more your thing or whatever, you can come try that out. That's at 2:30. Sign up for that if you're coming to that. But then when you come back, when you end up back at Adorama at 4:30, you can hang out, sit in these seats here at the event space, because Daniel Norton is coming back and he's doing portraits in motion, which is basically shooting shutter drag. So you can go do the walk all day, then come hang out here later in the afternoon, and maybe you guys can all go get dinner together. I don't know, but you can totally have a nice full day of being a photo nerd right here at the New York City store. September, a very, very cool event. Jeffrey Berliner, the legend, the OG, my man of analog over here. He's going to be talking about Frankenstein and cameras. So mixing old, used stuff with new school stuff, or making older cameras work with just Frankenstein parts together. It's going to be super fun, super nerdy, but I think this is one of the cooler events that we're probably going to have as far as analog goes. So make sure you're checking that out. And then there's, of course, Bill Bernstein and the Corporate Creators lineup is still going strong as we go past the 100th episode here at Adorama. So yeah, hope you guys are hanging out in that chat. All right. If you guys have any questions, now's the time to get them going. I have like a couple questions on the question sticker. Of course, 6,000 text messages while I'm live. Let's take a look at what the question stickers have to say. Speaking of Fujifilm loaning equipment to the photo walk, I just learned last week that Canon CPS has a loan program too. They're sending me a lens. So most, if not all, pro services have a loaner program. That's the point of a pro service, that you have a point of contact as a pro, that you buy into their program basically. So if you are part of Nikon NPS, Canon Pro Services, or Sony Pro Services, reach out and see what's available for loaners. And You'd be surprised what resources you haven't been using that have been at your fingertips for a while. So pretty cool. Let's take a look at the question sticker. If you guys want to get into anything, we totally can. I had no plan for today. I was going to bring the small rig flashlight that lets you put gobos. It's RGB and it's super fun. But I forgot it at home because I am having one of those days where I'm just kind of like forgetting a bunch of junk. Not good. All right. So I got a question on, oh, we got a few questions in here. Okay. So Nick Nikon 8, who I think you're an active question asker on the streams. Have you tried the new Westcott FJ100, quote unquote, the Sonocan strobe? So if you haven't noticed, we've been going through with this thing where every lighting brand is putting out a little Sonocan size light, shaped light that's around a 100 watt second light. And so Westcott has just introduced theirs. So while I haven't, JC from Westcott was just here live with it. So you can see it in action and have him talk to you about, you can see it here. He's like got his massive bear paw on it right now, right there. And you can see that the Westcott one is a little bit longer. It's a little bit more Arizona can shaped than I would say soda can shaped. It is actively cooled, so there is a fan in there, and it does zoom. So they needed some room in there, okay? While I did not use this thing yet, I don't have a unit either to try it out right now. I'll talk to JC about that. But you guys can check out this link that I'm putting in the chat right now and watch a live stream. If you missed it this week, this is what these streams are here for, guys. So 5 o'clock on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's something going on either here or on the main channel. We're excited to see you this Friday. I guess I'm doing something this Friday. Okay. So Vic Roman, real quickly in the chat, is asking, I need to get a mannequin. Why not skin tone with a face? Because it's not really skin tone. It's plastic. It's colored plastic with some janky type of permanent paint on it. So it's not going to act like skin anyway. Your best bet is to get something. The reason I go with matte white with Quinn is so I can actively, forget about the skin tone part of it. You're looking at highlight the shadow pattern. You're watching your break on your shadow line. Whatever it applies to her, you can bring to whatever skin tone or object, right? E-commerce or still life, whatever. But the reality is that no mannequin actually shoots like skin. So instead of getting like a creepy, weird looking thing, this makes way more sense from a baseline, like hardcore foundation standpoint, as opposed to trying to simulate something. So instead of worrying about, oh, did it blow out the skin? Well, I got news for you. The hot spot on that plastic mannequin or resin mannequin or fiberglass mannequin is not going to be reacting the same way as actual human skin with oil glands and pores and different translucency to skin densities and skin layers, I should say, and blood vessels and stuff like that. So it won't act like that anyway. All right. So that's my reason for going with Quinn the way she is really, really seeing exactly what my light pattern's doing and exactly how my fill light is adjusting the density of my shadow pattern and all sorts of other stuff. Okay. That's my reasoning for that one. But hey, if you want a weird, creepy mannequin, knock yourself out. I'm not here to mess with that. Godox has the AD100, decided to get their 100 watt second versus the V100 on camera flash for versatility. That's an option. Flashpoint does have the Evolve 100, Explorer 100, I'm sorry, as well. Okay. Cool. Well, Flashpoint is the house brand here at Adorama. So if you are looking into getting the soda can version of the Flashpoint light, they take care of you here for any type of issues, warranty. They'll even show you how to use it, basically. So make sure if you want to support this house, you also take a look at you take a look at, if you want to support this house, make sure you take a look at the private brands here as well. But whatever works for you, whatever system makes sense for you. They're completely different systems. They offer different models of light, just like anything else, you know. ProPhoto is way different than any other brand. Flashpoint's different from Westcott. Westcott's different from Godox. Like it's all a matter of what you think their system offers for you, and is it worth it, or is it something you even like, you know? I've been avoiding the creepy ones. Quinn is less creepy. Yes, because to me, Quinn is more architecturally sound. To me, Quinn is more of like you could actually shoot with Quinn and get a shot out of it you could use if you take it from more of an abstracted fine art approach. It's sculptural as opposed to oddly simulated. And if you are going to do something with an oddly simulated mannequin, you could totally get a shot from that, but it's going to be very surreal and kitsch and whatever. To me, it's not going to act like skin, so don't bother, you know? That's like, oh, I wanted a soda. I guess I'll just put some food dye and some water, and that's the same, right? No, not really. No. All right. So anyway, long story short, with the question that was asked about the FJ100, check out JC Carey's stream on this channel. It's like 2 videos ago at the time of streaming right now. It was a good demo, solid demo, and he shows you just how much you can do with a smaller light when you have that kind of control. Okay. All right. Okay. Someone's asking gray backdrop to white. Recommendations on preventing background light spill on subject. Well, there's a few things, right? When you're doing a white background on a subject and you're trying to basically overexpose a gray background to become white, you're pumping light at a gray background so it overexposes to become white, basically, right? But you're saying that when you do that, you get what we would call blowback, where you would get reflections of the light onto your subject. So one, distance, which can only get you so far, and you might not even have enough room. So in here, for example, wrong one. So here, for example, we don't have a lot of room, obviously. Every presenter complains about how small the space is because instead of realizing the space they're in, they'd rather complain because they're weak. No, I'm just kidding. But right here is about 6 feet of space behind Quinn. And putting a light, just a raw light on this background, we're going to see a reflection coming back because you're putting a lot of power that's not reflecting from too far away. It's going to affect your model. Your best bet is, if you can't get enough distance, which is why those big sets exist, like cyc walls and stuff, is putting your light inside of a flag of some kind so that at least the light itself is not spilling around. And whatever light is going to come off of this gets kind of caught by something like a V flat. So let's do a small version. I'm not going to go crazy with that. Is okay? Joel, is this your question? You're having a tough time with blowback. Okay. Can I ask you how many lights you're working with? And do you have V flats? Do you have black card or anything like that? Because you don't there. And let me just start off by saying oh, I'm talking to the wrongest camera ever. What is going on here? Sorry. Let me just go up by saying there is a million ways, infinite ways to light a white background. Okay. I've done a million different versions of a million different ways. What just happened here? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? Oh my God, man. I can't win. I can't win, guys. I'm having all sorts of tech issues. I'm groggy out of my mind. I'm very tired. I'm just gonna, okay. All right, Joel, let's do this together then, okay? I'm gonna take, I don't know. Let's take, why am I drowning in like chairs all of a sudden? I think someone who just found these streams is probably like, this guy's a mess. What is going on here? All right, let's take a stand for a key light, just a quick key light. Also, if you're using a reflector, you have to remember that light flying off of your background and then going into a situation for your subject where you have a reflector, well, that light is going to hit that reflector and kick in too. But if you're dealing with blowback, which is more of a seeing more of a rim light, or even worse, getting what looks like a fogging, like it almost looks like it's so overexposed that there's like a fog going on. That's kind of the light scattering across the front element of your lens to create that fog. It's not lighting air. It's just a lot of light diffracting all over the place. All right, I need a remote. So I got a remote. Nope, is that a remote? What is this? Is this a remote? This is a remote. Okay. So let's set up, Joel, how many lights are we working with here? So I'm going to go with one light on the background and see if I can get a decent white going on for you, okay? Also, you're also better off not shooting wide open. When you're wide open, you're more susceptible to obviously more light coming in from all different sources and angles and stuff like that. So if you're in a studio and you're doing the white background, you go for that commercial look, you don't want to go too shallow anyway, unless there's a specific creative reason. Okay, usually in commercial land, we're like at f8, you know, something like that. So let me throw a light in some kind of modifier. We'll do, I don't know, I'll do this 1x3 because it's sitting here. Okay. So Joel's saying they're using two 8200s, so like the Evolve 200 that we sell here. On the background, one key on the subject, no V-flats. I could rig some flags, wasn't sure if a modifier for the backlights would be helpful. Okay, so the problem with putting a modifier on the backlight is you're gonna limit the spread of that backlight, unless it's something like an umbrella, which might actually help you because by its nature, it's a flag as well if it's a bounce back, right? Like it's not a shoot-through umbrella. So let's set up a key light with this 1x3 that I just happen to have here, and we'll work from there, okay, Joel? I think this is also something that a lot of people probably get stuck with because in the end, in your head, you're like, I need that gray to be white, so I need to overexpose. To overexpose, I need a lot of light. But if you still have to keep in mind that you're balancing, right? So of course, this battery's dead because why would anything I do be ready to go? Let me just grab another battery really quick. Sorry, guys. So, and I'm going to shoot kind of tight here, right? But in the end, even if you're shooting full body, it's the same rules apply here, okay? Let me just get another battery really quick. Sorry about that, guys. If I was prepared for these things, they wouldn't feel right, you know? We gotta be a little jank here, okay? But also, I do find that if I can't do something on the fly for you guys, I shouldn't be doing these. You know what I'm saying? Tell me this is dead too. You know what I think happened? I think people packed these lights while they were still on. That's what I think just happened. But it's okay. We can totally also run these off of that wall outlet if I need to, which is always an option if you are in the Pro Photo system. You can plug in your batteries and then just click them into your lights and still use them. So that's an option. Let me just look for another battery here, which is killing me, especially when we're going to do something that is going to eat up a lot of power, like blast a background, you know? You guys with me? I see that I see the chat's kind of dead in there. I hate when this happens because it makes me wonder if we're even live. Okay. Okay, this is a full battery. Beautiful. I think somebody put those back, Daniel Norton, while they were still on and they just died, which can totally happen. Okay, let's position Quinn somewhere in between the background and myself. So we'll split the difference on that. We'll do, we'll do this. Now, if you're, ooh, someone scratched you, my dear. Oh no, I'll have to get some white out and clean you up. So you were using, I'm sorry. How many lights were you using? I'm using, oh, nice. You like how I'm using the remote case as a mouse? One day I'm gonna get sleep. So 2 lights on the background, 1 key. Okay, so Joel, was there a reason you needed 2 lights instead of 1? Were you shooting like a full body? And also, if you're shooting 2 lights, keep in mind what you wanna do. Let me see if I can show you guys with the modeling light on this. What a lot of people do, can you guys see that? Is they just point both lights into the center, and that's not what you want to do. Ideally, what you want to do is point your lights across each other. So like this light would go into here, and then that light would go into here, and then in the middle, they would overlap to create your exposure. That's also gonna help with the light bouncing back because it's not a direct angle banging in and banging back out. It's just getting you all you need is that gray paper to get overexposed to a point where it appears white when it's really just an overexposure. So make sure you are crossing them. So the light on the left into the right side of the paper, the light on the right into the left side of the paper, and then let them Venn diagram over themselves, okay? Over each other, I should say, rather. Okay. The number of times I thought my battery was good and turns out it was not. Yeah, I know. This is what happens when we have a bunch of guys in here that are working super fast to produce content for you guys. And it's not just the live streams. I mean, we rush in here, do a new product video, whatever, and then you got to jump into a meeting with a brand or whatever. Like it just never stops, you know? So someone used these lights, threw them back in while they were on, and eventually they just died. Because I guarantee you, because I use these lights, I turned off the sleep timer, which would just put it to sleep if it's not being used. I shut that off all the time because I don't even want to deal with that ever. Okay, I'm trying to cross the pattern. I was trying to cross pattern the lights on the background. Okay, so that didn't work out for you. Your main issue. So you got the white background, Joel, right? But you were getting a rim light that you didn't want. Is that what the issue is? Are you familiar with the London actor headshot scene? I learned so much from you and everyone at the channel, but there seems to be something else going on over there. I have no idea what you're talking about, to be honest. Okay, let me get a key light up so that we can understand what we're doing. Because one of the things you also got to remember is based on your key light is how much light is already hitting the background as it is. Meaning if that background goes black while I have a key light on, then my key light is not affecting that exposure on that background. But if I'm seeing some sort of gray, which we most likely will, it's adding to that exposure. When doing a white background, should it be bright enough to trigger the overexposure blinking in camera? Technically, yes. Some people will bring it just to the brink so they have at least information in post, depending on the job. If I was doing like a more of an e-commerce job that they're going to want flexibility in the images as opposed to a final image at the point of shot, I'd probably go just about, I'll show you. Let me show you in Capture One, okay? Let me go to Capture One really quick, actually. All right, so we are, when Gavin was here. Remember when Gavin was here, guys? That's the last time we actually shot on this stream. How sad is that? Sometimes we don't shoot at all on these streams. We just kind of talk and answer your questions. And I'm not sure if you guys are even okay with that. Do you guys always want to see some sort of like actual shoot going on here? Or are you okay with just kind of hanging out and talking? Or, you know, let me know thoughts on that, you know? All right, so let me throw... I tell you, we'll do it without the grid to start because you can always throw a grid in there if you want. But we're not really worried about the key light so much. One thing you have to worry about with the key light though is if it is a large modifier. Let's say you're doing like a 4-foot octa as your key light. Don't forget the light that's bouncing off of this gray paper and coming back at your subject is also hitting that 4-foot octa. That 4-foot octa becomes a reflector and it will affect your key light. It will raise your exposure of that key light. It might even actually also act like a subtle fill to the shadow density that's already happening. So you can actually balance that to kind of work in your favor, but it will be a factor for sure. It's nice to have both as part of the wild nature of the stream. Yeah, I think it's important to have these kinds of formats because we don't have these kind of formats at all. Like where we just kind of go for it and it's with you guys, not just in a room crowd. This isn't like a performance or whatever. We're just kind of hanging out and doing it. Kind of like workshop-y and also hangout-ish. Does that make sense? All right, let's, of course, now my hands are wet. Come on. Can't win, Rocky. You can't win, Rocky. Okay. Okay, let's get this in the sky here. And let's relax this arm a little bit. Okay, let's get a T-tail exposure on our girl. We'll be using a Z6 today because that's what I threw in my bag. And I'm going to use the 24-120 f4 lens because that's a really good all-around lens, especially for stuff like this where we don't know what we're going to get into. I really love this lens. If I have a camera with this lens, and I'm like, all right, I can do whatever I got to do. If I wanted some kind of special look, like something more shallow, that's another story. But because I definitely appreciate the 1.2 lenses that Nikon's got for sure. It's just this lens is so versatile. I just get so much done with it, especially in studio situations, you know. Okay. You guys okay in there? Hang out with you as work, pick up things. I'm glad you guys are into both because I'm not sure half the time what we're going to get into. Oh man, why didn't anybody tell me that this lower third is like massive right now? Well, I'll shrink that down a little bit. Okay. All right. Now, let's get a T-tail exposure on our girl. But before we do that, what are we going to do, guys? What's the first frame we got to do before I even worry about putting light on our girl Quinn over here? You guys know the answer to this. I'm so sick of having to tell you guys the answer to this. No, all right. Let me just make sure I'm not in some crazy settings because that's been my MO lately is some crazy settings. What is my white balance at? Okay, so we're good. All right, let's put this in here. Let me pull my cards because I have tons of stuff on the cards, I bet. And we're tethered. Okay. Black frame, because we want to know that the light we're capturing is the light we're creating. We don't want to worry about some weird anomaly that's from the ambient light. We want to know that we're in control here, okay? So let's go over to the tether. Let's move this light a little bit back so I got some stretch. And let's take a look at our girl. And I'm going to go to f8, 200th of a second, ISO 100, although something is acting funny. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Did that just take a picture of the floor? Yeah, it did. What is going on here? I don't know what's been going on with these streams lately, but like there's been the dumbest glitches I've ever dealt with, and now for some reason it's not taking it off of live view for some reason. So I'll just manually take it off of live view because who cares? Okay. Let's take a look. Oh, sorry. Wait a second. I'm all over the place. Hang on. Okay. So this is black frame. This is f8, ISO 100, 200 a second. And if we take a look at our exposure, I'd say we got about 2 stops of shadow density, which is okay. Not bad. This camera's acting funny, and I'm not okay with that. I got a weird feeling. Hang on, let me just double check a couple things really quick, guys, because something's not acting okay here. And I don't know why, and I don't know who used this camera last, and that really bothers me. Oh, okay, cool. Let me do this again really quick because now the camera's acting completely fine. Let me try that again. Okay, hang on. Sorry, guys. Okay, so this is a black frame. Great. So we got the black frame. Let's do a quick TTL on Quinn at these settings. See what we get. Beautiful, right? We're looking at a perfectly exposed Quinn, and that gray is barely showing up, so we know that our key light isn't really affecting our background too much. She could use a little bit more exposure, but I guarantee you the camera's going, hey, that's stark white. We want to see a little bit of gray. So if it were me, I would give it about maybe like half a stop more power. And she looks a little bit up there. I wouldn't go crazy because remember, we're going to do the white background, and white backgrounds could cause a lot of light coming back, okay? All right, so the shadow sliders and high dynamic range. There we go. You know what? Oh, wait a second. How much Apple R? Ah, look at that. Okay. This is what happens. Just so you guys know, this is the same one. This is the same session we started off with a million years ago. So who knows what adjustments I've left on this thing. Look at this. Do you guys remember this? We shot all this stuff. We shot all this stuff. Look at this. Look at how crazy we've gotten over the year. Shot the glass heart, right? We did that. We did that with a white background, right? We got a little weird with that. I think we did the Stranger Things card in here. We did, I don't know what we were doing all sorts of weirdness over here. So to get me back to 0, I just hit Apple R and I'm back to 0. So now going forward, this is TTL. I'm sorry, that isn't TTL. That's where I left it, which is maybe a half a stop over TTL. Okay, great. Can we move forward now? Because I feel like we're getting stuck on the dumbest stuff. Now that white background part. I'm going to try to do it with one light just to show you what it would be like. Hopefully I have a light with a battery in it. Let's take a look. If not, I can go run and get a battery really quick. Not a big deal. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so this has a full battery. Okay, so that's group A. I'm going to put this in group C. Normally with my background lights, if I'm doing a white background all in, if I can measure it out, if I can physically measure it and make sure they're identical, I'll do the same group sometimes. Most times though, I do C and D so that I can independently control them just in case there's some kind of discrepancy going on. I have individual control, all right? So this one I'm going to set to C. All right. And let's do a configuration where I throw it onto a shorty and put it directly behind her. And then we'll change it to closer to what you were doing, okay? So if I put it behind her, I need to put it against her so that I have the most spread, okay? If I put it too close to the background, we're gonna get that circle gradient, okay? Yeah, I had a weird white balance, I know. I can't express to you guys enough how much I just come in here and hit go. So I apologize for not being totally prepared. That's a my fault kind of a situation. All right, so just to do it, because I got the single light going right now, let's do it single light this method, just to give you guys an idea of what on angle, like on axis light hitting and coming back is. This is as directly reflective as we can get, right? Okay. So let's take a look at just the background light. So if I turn off A, which is this light, and if I go to C and I put that in TTL and I do spot metering on the back of Quinn, spot metering, and I TTL the back of Quinn, right? We get this, which is crazy, but it totally makes sense because when we go back to this, let me take it out of spot metering. If she's not going to be overexposed behind her, she won't be overexposed in front of her, right? So let's take a look. I'm going to take this out of TTL in the back. Now it's just a straight up light. And right away, you guys can see this, right? There's a gradation happening, but over here, look at these numbers here. See how they say 250, 251? 255 is pure white. In fact, maybe in this corner, I got closer to 250, 255. We're so on the brink of pure white here. Up here, not so much. Why? Because we're hitting a grading. That light is behind her shoulders. It's going to die off inverse square that way, okay? In this situation, having more distance might actually help me out here, What I could try to do is raise the light a little bit, which I don't think is going to do that big of a difference, but let's take a look. Just a little bit more raised on that light. Let's take a look. Nothing, right? It's whiter here, but it's grayer up here. So this is kind of where you fall short on doing a single light directly behind shoulders and in a smaller space. However, in this smaller space, your background can be a modifier. You could do something like a 5-foot umbrella, 4-foot octa as that background, okay? Now, let's just crank it and see what we get, because I bet you we'll start seeing that blowback that you were seeing. So I'm going full power on that backlight. Let's see what happens. See, now we're getting blowback. And why is that? Because before we were getting a white background here and gray here. Here, we're destroying this white background and getting white background here. So to compensate for this gray up here, we're pumping out way too much here. And you can actually see you get this rim light. Personally, I actually like those. Oh, I gotta sneeze. Sorry, guys. I personally like that, but I totally get it if you're trying to isolate, okay? Now, you said something about putting a modifier on that light. If I put a modifier on that light, it's not going to change anything except the spread towards the paper. It's not going to stop that light here reflecting on the jaw here, because that's not the light itself reflecting backwards. It's the paper reflecting back, right? So your best bet is to go kind of more off axis a little bit, right? So let's put this light more here on an axis, right? I'm doing this with the one light now. I'm going to let those batteries charge. Maybe we'll go into the two lights after that, okay? But right now, I'm going to do, let me see if I can show you guys. Oh, no, yes, no, yes, okay. We're going to go this way with it to hit where we want Quinn to have a white background, and then let it reflect out that way. And will this fix it? Maybe not. Maybe not. But it is logically a good step. So let's take a look. Now, I'm going to preemptively say this. If this light is spilling this way and hitting her, I'm running out of distance to get it closer to the paper so it doesn't do that. This is where something like throwing an umbrella on it might actually really help out, because that umbrella will kind of contain the spill out a little bit, you know? Let's just see where we go with this. But in reality, what you would normally do is put a V flat right here, let this spill out, hit the V flat, let the black of the V flat define Quinn and give us that negative fill, so you get more of that definitive shadow line as opposed to the rim light. I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's take a look at what this looks like with that as the background. A lot of blowback, but we're also at full power still, right? So what if I take it down to where we had it before? Oh, you know what? It's actually hitting the projector. It's hitting the projector, guys. That screen is a giant reflector. So oh, sorry about that. This is where it was before. And this is without the key light even on. This is without a front light. This is what the light is behind her. This is off axis, but you can see how much it's spilling here, right? So let's see if I got an umbrella to kind of chop this up a little bit. What do I got? This is a 41-inch. To shoot through, we don't want to shoot through. What is this? Wow, this is dusty. This has been here a while. All right, so this is a really small umbrella that I don't think is going to do what we want it to do, but let's try it. Let's try it. And let's spin this way. And now what I'm getting is kind of a built-in flag situation here, right? So we'll have a light going into that umbrella, coming out, but it won't be hitting her so much because it is flagged. In this situation, though, we are going to get an underexposed right side. I'm almost guaranteeing it, okay? Let me see. but it also does change that spread of light, because don't forget, the raw light is only this big. So going at the paper, it still has to spread. Here, we're going to get spread before anything gets towards the paper. And I'm gonna go full power just to see where we're at on that. Let's take a look. Big difference, right? This was full power. This is full power with an umbrella. We're already cutting down all of that. We still are getting a gradient here. This is not white back here, but just out of curiosity, let's throw in our key light and see what happens here. Well, gee, what happened there? Well, we're adding the exposure that's existing here as opposed to the exposure we started here, right? So if we're already starting here as opposed to here, and then we add our key light, it's going to be overexposed, right? Taking a little bit out of that key light, and now we're back on exposure, right? Because our black frame told us we were 1.5 of shadow density. So I saw that we were gaining exposure here. Over here, over here we were overexposed, and over here I cut out almost a stop of light because we have 1.5 of shadow density. However, this is still really bad because we have gradation going on. So what can we do here with just the light? I would argue that it's the angle of the light that we're producing, not the light that we're producing itself. Here's what I'm going to do. And I know this isn't your situation, but this is the situation we're in right now. So I'm just going to go for it with this. I'm going to take this light off of this small stand. I'm going to put it onto a taller stand. And instead of trying to rake it across, which is in frame, we're going to rake it this way so that the gradation is below Quinn where we're not shooting anyway, right? Use logic here, okay? Feel like I'm not even coming close to the setup you were using, but we'll get into it, I promise. I'm gonna try to see if I can pull out a V-flap before we're done and do this like the proper way. Right now, we're just kind of doing this very sloppy and slinging lights around. So if I were to, first of all, move these clamps out of the way. Oh my God, this poor studio space gets used by like 60 billion people that are all in a rush, and everything gets all jacked up and set weird and all sorts of stuff. So, okay. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to basically mirror what's going on with our key light here, okay? So, let's boost this up. Actually, I'm going to pivot it down a little bit. Okay, let me boost this up. And let me see if I can get you a better camera angle, guys. So you see what's going on here? We're going to use this light to effectively blast light behind Quinn, hit here, let it gradate here because our frame is cutting here. We're shooting into this. So why would I want it to gradate into a part of the background that's going to be out of frame anyway, right? So we're staying at a relatively similar distance, I'd say, than we were with the side version of this. So we should be okay with the power in theory. Let me just see. Let's see what we get. All right. This might totally suck. I don't know. What are we doing? In the words of Daniel Norton, I don't know. Let's try it. Okay. Let's see. Oh, you know what? That light is totally in frame because I'm a jerk. Okay, let me see if that got out of frame really quick. Yeah, close enough. Let's take a look. So now that gradation is gone, but we are definitely hitting an exposure point on Quinn. Because if I take out that backlight and I take a look at Quinn by herself, that's what Quinn looks like by herself, right? Now let's take out that key light and let's put back on that background light and see what that's doing. So now we're seeing exactly what that backlight is doing, and you can see how much is wrapping around her. I think it looks cool, but I totally get not wanting this if you want something more clean and less sci-fi feeling. I mean, this is totally for me though. So what am I going to do? I'm going to kind of start over. I'm going to TTL the back of Quinn and make sure that that sea light isn't ripping around her more than we need it to do. So I'm going to go back into spot metering. I'm going to TTL the back of Quinn. This is a TTL shot of the back of Quinn. We're going to take it out of TTL. We're going to turn back on our key light, which you already know is where we want it, right? And let's try this again. So what happened there? What do you think happened there? We metered TTL for the back of Quinn being white. Watch what happens if I TTL the back of Quinn's black shirt. Watch what happens. Let's turn this off. Let's TTL just the black part of Quinn. I guarantee you TTL is gonna be a little different on that one. Also, let me not block the light. Okay. So now let's try putting this together. Watch how different this is gonna look. Put on A again. It's not really working this time, is it? Interesting. But you do see, oh, sorry guys. It's not really working this time. The guy on the right is the one that I just shot. Interesting. Interesting. So I'm gonna add a stop and a half to it. Let's see what that looks like. We're still getting a little bit of blowback on her. And this isn't even white. This is still gray. So I'm totally failing at this right now. My best bet would be to separate, is to distance-wise get a little bit more separation from the background with my key light and Quinn over here. And then let this go a little more overexposed than normal. Oh my God, I'm doing great here, guys. I'm hitting my head. I'm not getting a white background. This is working out great. Let's take a look. That's a pretty white background. Stands in the shot, but you get it. 250, 255 around, not bad. Let's see what happens when we take out that front light and see if we, also let me move this stand so it's not so. Let me do this. Okay. What was I doing? I can't remember what I was doing. You guys okay in that chat? Let me see what that just the background light looks like. So we're almost getting rid of all the exposure on the front of Quinn. We're getting a little bit of rim light. All right, here's where the V-flats will really help out. Some black card on left or right would be really advantageous, if you will. But really what your goal is to flag that light from not hitting anything else except where actually, I kind of want to roll up this projecting screen and see if that's making a difference, because the projection screen literally is a projector, is a reflector. Man, I am fried right now. Man, not having a great day today, guys. It's all good. We're just live. Who cares? All right, let's take a look. Nah, that projector screen didn't do too much. A little bit. Projector screen did a little bit, but nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. No, of course, Joel. And I know I'm not going through like your setup because I'm just waiting for some kind of battery power to happen here. But let's see if I can pivot this a little bit more straight to the paper. Let's see what happens when I put this together. But you see how every decision we're making isn't a guess. We're like, we want this to happen. How can we make this happen? You know, I'm going to lift up that light a little bit. I think it's just a little bit in frame. And ideally, I'd probably have a bigger umbrella. But this is a little bit less than a 4-foot umbrella. So we got rid of, where were we? I don't even know where we were. We were kind of in this area. So you can kind of see that we're getting the definition here, right? She's actually a little underexposed in the front, in my opinion. Having said that, I can add a little bit, like half a stop to the front, which will actually throw more light on the back a little bit, but not even close to making that much of a difference. Let's take a look. Yeah, so, I mean, I shot into the umbrella, but we're close to the 255 on all sides with a white painted mannequin. White on white with more white. All right. I kind of want to get this a little more nailed down because now I feel like I have a vendetta against this a little bit. I'm gonna try to spread the umbrella out a little more, but I'm worried that that light will then skate past the umbrella and hit Quinn. But let's see if I'm wrong or right or wrong. Whichever way you guys look at the world, I don't know. Let's take a look. That's not bad. That's not bad. It's a little bit gray down here. And if you really wanted to kind of just mitigate that really quickly, just shooting at a lower angle will go more into the white, obviously, but you can still see it's dying off. So moral story is no matter what you're doing with a single light as white background, it will eventually die off because it's going to be bright at the one part of it. Had this been a white piece of paper that doesn't already start out gray, you're already kind of mitigating half the problem we're having here. So let's do the V-flat version of this, which is definitely proper. And let's do it with 2 lights. So let me get a V-flat. Do I have 2 V-flats is the question. I have a V-flat-ish and a V-flat. Okay. This is going to get congested in here pretty quick, but this is what we do here, okay? So there's 2 schools of thought here. For me, it's not about one or the other. It's about the situation I'm in is whether I pick one or the other, okay? So when you're setting up your V-flats, you want the black. Let me switch to an over. Man, I am not feeling the gray right now. Okay, you want your, typically what you do is you set it up like a wall, like just this would be the portal for your subject, and you'd want it a little bit behind. Some guys people will do more in front so they get more of a negative fill here, which is totally fine too. With this, I find you have more of a chance to block the light coming back at your subject. And the other school of thought is either bouncing the light into the V-flat and having it scatter across the white background, or pointing it towards the background and just using this more as a flag, not as a bounce. The bouncing into it version is definitely a little more advantageous if you want to get a spread of light, but you are going to need power. So if you get into this situation and you go, it's still not white enough, or I'm not getting enough power, you got to go back to your camera settings, sorry girl, and either open up your aperture or raise your ISO a little bit. We're at f8, so we've got room to move with the aperture for sure. Let me throw a light on a stand. Actually, you know what, I'll just use this one. Get this out of the way. And you could even keep a 3rd light overhead like that if you really wanted to. I just don't think you need to unless you really need to. But I just want to get more close to your situation than not. So let's see what happens with one before I set up the second one. And let's do it into the V flat, not towards the paper, okay? Let's do that way. And this is where your modeling lights really kind of help you out, because you can see how much is hitting the white inside the interior of the V flat. So you'll see if it's escaping a little bit, right? All right. I'm gonna push it right in there. I'm gonna drop this. Actually, I need this other V flat just in case. This one's big. This is a real V flat. This isn't a foldable V flat, so this is going to take up a bit of space. But that's okay. Man, we are getting into it today, huh? Okay. Let's drop this. Okay, let's just see what changed here without even changing any settings. Let's just go for a shot out of the gate. So I'm still at full power on that backlight, which I think isn't going to be enough, but we'll see. Take a look. So you can actually see where it's gradating across, right? It doesn't feel like enough power because it's essentially working against itself, but that's okay. So what are we going to do? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my aperture a little bit. I'm going to go to 6.3, which means my key light has to come down a stop about. So let's see what happens there. Okay, do you see the difference? So we opened up our aperture, which let more light in. We went from f8 to 6.3, which means this light that was at full power gets brighter. So we're seeing the 250-ish range here. We are definitely seeing a gradation here, but we're going to get a second light in there, right? And we took our key light and we dropped the power of that down a stop because we opened up for it. So the aperture is a global adjustment, aperture letting in more light overall, but we just want the background to get bright. So the background is at max power. If it's at max power and it's still under, and I open up my aperture to get that to be white, well, my key light then gets too bright. So my key light, I bring that back down one stop because I adjusted one stop. So across the board, we get back to even. The problem we're running into here isn't exposure as much as it's spread of light, which makes total sense because we literally have a black card and a V flat in there. So let's set up the second light and we'll do the same thing. So this is a different V flat. Obviously matching V flats would be nice, but I think anybody who's worked in a rental studio knows that is a fat chance sometimes. So let's get another light set up. We'll put that in group D as in David. Let's see what we got here for any power. Okay. That was a pretty quick charge. Okay. I know I'm like hiding from you guys. I'm sorry. I hope this is making sense. I should definitely take a look at this chat room in a minute, but I'm kind of in the middle of stuff, you know what I'm saying? Because Joel had to ask a question. I'm running out of space side to side, so this is not going to match as far as opening of the V flat. However, this is totally going to be better overall. So you can see how they don't match. I'm running out of space physically here. What I could do is move the set over a little bit and make it match, but we're not doing a real thing here. So I'm going to do the best I can just so you get an idea. The key here though is to understand that distance means more than anything, right? So if the two lights are a similar distance, then they should be similar power settings technically. So let me turn this on. Group D. Oh, it's already in group D. Great. And since the one that we already set up is at full power, I'm going to put this at full power. And let's point this into the V flat the same way we were doing that one. I'm going to try to match the pitch and angle of it the best I can. And we'll see what happens here. Okay. All right. You guys with me? Talk to me, baby. Talk to me, baby. Okay. But you already have a couple things working against us in this situation, and you, because it's what you're in, right? One, gray paper, not white paper. So we're having to overexpose something that already isn't white. Not the hardest thing in the world, obviously, but it's something to deal with. 2, the physical space that we have to create the light we need at a spread, at an exposure. Remember, if you want to get more spread, you need the light farther away. If the light farther away, we're losing power. If we're losing power, we're not going to get to white. So we're playing this game here. Plus, we want to flag everything we can. So let's see what happens when we just kind of go for it here. All right, so now we're looking at 250. If you look at those numbers that are over here, right? Over here, whoop, over in this area, you can see that they're like 253, 255. She has very minimal blowback, guys. That's very, very minimal, right? If I were to take those V flats down, that's actually not bad, guys. Come on, that's not bad, guys. That's not bad. How would you do this with an Ektachrome and RB67 and Dynalights? Why are you even gonna ask that question? You're gonna do this completely different because it's not what we're doing right now. If I was doing this on Ektachrome and an RB67 that only has 12 shots and is, first of all, for film, you're gonna wanna expose more for your shadows than your highlights as it is. 2, we're probably gonna meter this out. We're gonna take like 40 Polaroids till we feel like we're in the pocket, and then we're gonna go for it. And then you're also gonna do post-processing because you're not gonna just have the shots themselves, you know? Or I guess Ektachrome is slides, but you definitely wouldn't even have the dynamic range that we have today in that film anyway, and that film will have its own look anyway, okay? Jeez, man. What lights, hold on, now I'm missing buttons here. What lights, power-wise, do you use now on the background? So these are at full power. These are full 10. These are 500 watt second ProPhoto B30s. We are shooting at f6.3 at ISO 100. We can make things easier on ourselves and start at 400, right? Gain a couple stops right there, you know, and then ease up these lights if we wanted to. But I'm trying to stick to the 100 right now in this small space because why not? What was I doing? I can't remember what I was doing. Let me go back to where this, look at the difference, right? Look at the difference, right? So she's more sculpted. Why? Why? Because she's not being filled in randomly by blowback. So we have more sculpted on the right. The right is what we just did with the V-flats. On the left, that was the single light behind her. So the argument here is, could you get to a white background with a single light? Sure. Are you going to get to every single type of light that you could get with a white background? No. So you have to understand the property of what you're doing with the light, which in the situation on the left, we're using the paper as a reflector to rip light physically on axis back behind her head and around again. On the right, we're getting that sculpt because if I take a picture without the key light on, we should get relatively a silhouette, sort of. Let's take a look. Wait, did that? You know what? I think that's actually reflecting off of the key light. That is the background light reflecting off the key light. Absolutely. If I were to take off C and D, we take a look at her again. We're at black. And then if I put in A, which is our key light, we have black background. So this is key light. This is just the background lights, which are absolutely affecting her, for sure. And then that's all of it together. But in the end result is what matters, right? The end result is what matters, right? So is that not right on the left where we have minimal blowback? Yeah, there's a little bit here, a little bit. But we're overexposing paper that is not white. You know, in order to get that white background to not reflect off of the key light, we could set up a flag. And you know what? Why don't we do that? Because I'm already in the middle of this. Why don't we just make it even crazier on myself? I have a black card here, right? If I put a black card and I do this, we might be able to mitigate that that reflecting off of the key light. but I kind of think what we might have to do is actually squeeze these black V-flats in a little bit more first. And then let me see if I can just hand hold it, because I really don't want to start gripping up another arm in a space that I have to break down in 5 minutes. Okay, let's do this. So we're going to hold up this card and hopefully, let me zoom out my lens a little bit. I don't know, 85 sounds about right. Let's see if we can do this. No, I can't physically do this. It's too far away, but let's see if I can kind of fudge it. This is not going to work out well at all. I mean, that's a pretty clean white background shot, guys. Boy, holding this giant card is not helping. Let's see what happens when I turn off the key light and just use the background lights with this janky card in the way. I don't think it's going to help that much, but let's see. Actually, that helped out a lot. Wow. Without that black card and moving the V-flats in tighter, that's what she looks like. That's a big difference, right, guys? So there you go. Should we grip this up, or do you guys get it? Do you really need me to grip up this card? I mean, we can. I just really don't want to. Whatever. I'll do a last shot. Why not? My New Year's resolution to myself was, don't be lazy this year. So let's not be lazy this year. Oh my God, there's no room in here, guys. Let's see how this goes. Let's grip up the card overhead. So we block out that blowback from the light bouncing off of that background. All right. Let's see. Okay. Let's see if I can pivot this the way I want. I think I need a clamp. Let's see if we can just make this happen real fast. I need a clamp for sure. And the card just ripped. And the card just totally ripped. Awesome. Awesome. Nothing like doing this live, guys. Nothing. This is really bad poster board. That's probably why. Pretty bad. Pretty bad. Let me get a clamp before it rips again. Of course, I don't have a clamp. I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of comments on the stream. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. I've been shooting since 1970, blah, blah, blah. Gotta love those guys. And I assisted this guy, blah. Love it. Cool, you do it live, bro. Okay. Let's see if we can get this kind of mitigated here. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to give it a little more arm length so that it can clear the shot a little better. So this is what happens, by the way, when your bounce cards dry out. They become brittle. And when you try to clamp them, they just rip. And that is what I'm dealing with right now, guys. Unfortunately. Let's see. Let's see if this works. Yeah, I need a few more stands. All right, let's see if this works. Okay. Put back on group A. We got C and D running at full stop. Can't see anything right now. I mean, we're even getting definitive shadow on this side. So that's definitely killing that blowback to a point where, and 255, 255. Look, 255 all the way. We're all right. We got white background. We got our white. I mean, she could use a little bit of light, maybe a little bit, Give her like half a stop, maybe, but we're in it. We got this. So we're blocked all that light off of the background coming back at us. We overexposed that background by quite a bit. Yeah, that's good. How's that? Does that fit? So essentially, man, why am I so out of breath? I feel like I just got out of a fight. Oh, cut me, Mick, you know? And we could even, you know, move her a little bit, get a little bit of the scar side of her on there, you know? Right? And you're getting definition. I mean, look at that. If there was reflectant happening, you wouldn't see this definitive line here, you know? So to recap, what really went on here is two lights crossing each other. So at the middle is where your exposure really is. Flagging those lights. You don't really need B flats, but they are good if you want to bounce the light into them and rip the light back to really scatter that light. However, doing that, we lose power. So we're at full 10. We had to open up a stop just to get the result we wanted. Okay. Then we had to flag overhead because the lights bouncing back were actually coming over our model and hitting the front diffuser of our modifier and creating an exposure. And so when we started eliminating any chance for that backlight to interfere with our front, we were good. What if you put the white side of the V flat behind Quinn? Then I would just have to light that V flat, but you would also get seams. You would only have 4 feet of space to work with as opposed to a full seamless. So you could do this same setup, spread out more for full body, right? It's the same thing, just ratio, right? So if you want a full body, moving the V flats further apart, meaning more power, you might even, not even kidding you, I've done plenty of commercial sets where 2 or 3 strobes per V flat inside, right? 1, 2, 3. And then you're doubling, right? Like, so you're doubling, tripling, I'm sorry. So you have 500 watt seconds, and you have 1,000 watt seconds, and you're adding another 500 watt seconds on top of that, right? So you're just gaining stops of light with that. And that's when you see these massive sets and you go, how do you need that much light? Depending on what you're doing, you might, right? So if Daniel's probably going to watch this and he's going to tell me, like, we did a video on the main channel forever ago. There was 7 lights just to light one girl on a white background because of what we were doing here, making more room for her, right? So that's the factor. Every time you're trying to make something happen, there's a trade-off, right? So if we are going to try to make more room here, we create more distance. More distance means loss of light. Loss of light means loss of power. We have to find that power somewhere. Either we're opening up, boosting our ISO, or adding lights, right? You know? And then all else fails, you're going to hate this, guys. All else fails, you do background selection. Let's see how good the background selection is. Look at that. Background selection, and then you overexpose the snot out of it. Look at that. And we're done. Right? How easy was that? Instead of us building all these lights. Raw. The problem with that is sometimes it just doesn't look natural, honestly. And there's like a micro halo or whatever, but whatever. You know. The less work you have to do down the line per shot, the better. So if someone came to me and said, I want a commercial white background, I'm going to give them a commercial white background because they choose 50 frames. That means if there's an added 3 minutes to every frame, times that by 50. Now we're 2.5 hours more work into this. And what if there was an issue somewhere? What if like white fur was bleeding in and didn't get all the fur or something like that? You know? Or famously, hanging earrings get obliterated all the time. Tell you the truth, I think we did a pretty all right job if you think about it, you know? The challenge was the gray paper, to be honest. If this was white paper, you wouldn't have seen, if the challenge wasn't gray paper, we wouldn't have dealt with this gradation as much. It would have picked up. Like, this is very minor gradations on the gray. This is very minor, but this is very flat black light. I'm not really too into it. Look how much more sculpted she became. You know, we really dialed her in on this, you know? You actually see facial features. I mean, you have to realize what we just lit here, guys. Flat white paint on our subject to a gray background going white to a white background, not obliterating the detail on our white painted model. So we are overexposing one zone and trying to maintain exposure on another zone while maintaining two types of white. That's a little bananas. And to be honest with you, shooting special effects makeup has totally sharpened up a lot of skills for me. I'll say that. But I hope that is Joel even in the chat still? Did this help at all, Joel? I'm sorry, man. Feel like I kind of let this go all over the place. Oh, he says that they'll jump for a work call. Well, you better comment back, man. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. If you guys can do me a favor, I pinned to the chat my last demo. If you guys could go check that out, drop a comment, I'd really appreciate it. Also, check out JC Carey's Westcott demo from a couple days ago. That's on the channel as well if you want to check that out. No, I appreciate you, Brian. Sorry if I snapped at you, man, but like I'm in the middle of like a really tough setup, and you're asking me about shooting Ektachrome on a camera that hasn't been made in 40 years with lights that don't exist either anymore. Dynalight went down a while ago. Man, I am sweating. And I need like a waffle. Actually, you know what? If you made it this far on the chat, sorry guys, I am so tired. If you made it this far on the replay, my replay gang, type waffle. I want to see waffles in those comments. Got a lot of stuff coming up this week. If you're new here, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell. We're mainly live on this channel, so you're going to want to be in that chat when we're live like this. I appreciate all you guys. Seriously, I do. This one was a little janky, but it was more of a, you guys kind of threw a challenge at me. I didn't even get to the rest of the question stickers. Let me just really quickly check the question stickers because there might be like really easy ones that are not a soliloquy here. What light would be needed to light one freight train car? Okay. What do you mean light a train car? Are you doing a shoot inside the car? Are you photographing the car from the outside? Are we talking about in daylight? What type of look are we going for? Is it a contrasty look? Are we trying to make it an even lit? What exactly is that shot? Because that could be a million different things. I'm going to leave that one alone. Man, you guys are killing me. Yeah, the 100th episode of Coffee with Creators. That was pretty fun with Daniel. It drove me crazy. My man doesn't know what black coffee is. I'll just say that. We are on the 59th episode of this next time we go live. So I'll see you for that one. If you are in New York, make sure you're stopping by this week. A lot of vendors here for you to go check out. And there's something else I forgot. I can't remember what it is. Driving me nuts. Oh, if you're in New York, the Sony Drifters event at SVA Theater, you guys can come check out the trailer launch of that film and tech demo all the cinema line Sony stuff. Totally. Oh, thanks, Joel. No worries, no worries. In the end, forget what I did, but understand like why we did the steps we did. Fair. And this is also why sometimes having white, and also Joel, really quickly, if you guys are looking for a white background, like a white paper, super white, Savage Super White has actual micro crystal reflectance in it. So it can actually reflect light poppier with less light needed. So if you're in a situation like that, super white is pretty nuts, but it is harder to rein in when you worry about blowback in some situations. So be aware of that. But if you're gonna go for white, start with white. It'll be a lot easier for you. Not that you can't make this happen, but you know, and you listen, I'm a big proponent of, if you don't know what you're gonna shoot with, just throw gray up there and you'll figure out anything from there. But you saw the challenges, okay? All right, I am going to get out of here. I got a bunch of stuff to do, calls, meetings, blah, 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 blah. It's lots of exciting stuff happening here. I'm not going to be here the end of the month, so I'm going to miss the Monday stream. Oh, next week I'm going to miss the Monday stream, I think. I'm sorry, guys. And do me a favor, as community members, do me a huge favor. I'm not going to be here the last week of August. My guy Joe is going to be here running the switcher. You've seen him, you've met him. He's an incredible photographer himself. Keep up on that chat and bark at him if something's going on. If you guys, he might not see something that's going wrong. If the audio is blowing out, if there's an angle you guys want to switch to, as longtime chat room people, I need you in there and helping Joe out. I myself need help in this space, so I need him to understand everything he can about this space, so I can go handle some other stuff. I'm not leaving or anything. Don't. But I can't keep doing this for everything. Okay, there's so much other stuff that has to happen. All right, I'm gonna call it there. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. I will see you Wednesday for Coffee with Creators with Andrew Hancock, one of the best sports photographers of all time. And I will see you guys. Oh, follow me here. If you guys want to ask questions before we go live, I put the question sticker the day before on my Instagram. Follow my Instagram, check out my YouTube channel for more tutorials and stuff. I am going to Anime NYC, so hopefully I'll have a video coming out of Anime NYC, the cosplay photographers there, stuff like that. This camera has lost audio visual sync in the last 10 minutes. This is out of sync. Is this out of sync, guys? Is this out of sync? Tell me, is this out of sync? Somebody talk to me. I know I'm on a delay. Before you leave, am I out of sync? Okay, so I got one guy saying it's good for me. Okay. Are you listening on like a Bluetooth speaker or something? A lot of Bluetooth headsets and stuff are totally have a lag on them. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna call it there. Also, last thing, if you're in Boston, if you're part of PPA MA or PPMA, I'm doing a demo up there for a full day in April. Keep watching them for that. If you guys want to join that, seats are limited. If you're in Massachusetts, make sure you check that out. Okay. But for now, ooh, look at this. This is some good monster lighting right there. All right. Later, guys. I got to get out of here. Be good to each other. I'll see you later this week. Peace.